Hello, once again, this is Brother Teacher. I was asked a question about what is the best name brand bottled water. Well, to the individual that asked me this question and to anyone else that may be curious about what's the best bottled water by name, as I'm speaking to you right now, none of them. Not a one. There have been many tests upon test upon test, pH test, and acidic test, if you will, alkaline test, whatever you want to call them, on all of these types of bottled waters, all of the ones that we're familiar with, and even some that we probably have never heard of before, because there's dozens and dozens and dozens of water name brands out here in our society. And some of them are worse than others. Most of them are not good for human consumption. Very few of them are even close to being alkaline, uh, to the level or on the level that would be adequate for the human consumption. I'm just going to go through a couple or a few names of some waters. Glacier Smart Water, Boss, Fiji, a very popular name, Fiji. A lot of people think Fiji is really good for you. Okay, Dasani, Ice Mountain, Nestle, Aquafina, and Evian. Those are some pretty popular names that most of us are familiar with, but listen to me very carefully. Someone else asked me the question about, well, where do we get and how do we get the best water? What is the perfect solution, basically, to our water crisis? I've said this in maybe a different way before, but I want you to really listen to Brother Teacher. First of all, water that we drink from our municipality, that means our reservoir in our local city that comes through our faucets in our homes, sink in the kitchen, sink in the bathroom, your shower, and so forth. All of that water is polluted. Yes, it has been treated, but it's not just the water per se that has the issue. It is the chemicals that's being treated, or it is the treatments that's used in the water to kill off parasites, to kill off waste, to kill off chemicals, to kill off one chemical that's causing an issue. And then when that chemical is causing an issue, then there's another chemical used to kill off that chemical. But what you end up with at the end of the day in a glass of water from your faucet at home is a glass full of chemicals that appears to be water. Water laden with chemicals. Understand this. We have chemical plants. We have chemtrails in the air. We have all kinds of toxins that are spewed out in our atmosphere that lands on our earth or land per se, in our bodies of water, lakes, rivers, streams, wells, and so on and so forth. And all of the waste from animals, birds, raccoons, dogs, cats, deer, fox, whatever it is, all of this waste is on the land, and when it rains, all of this water is contaminated by all of these different things that I just mentioned. Not to mention the chemicals that are flushed down the toilet from people's prescriptions. Old medicine, bleach, household cleaning supplies, all of these things end up in our water supply. So in an attempt, and I will say attempt, and I use that term loosely, attempt, to eradicate all of this poison, they add more poison to try to clean the water. But what they add to our water supply ends up traveling along with the water through our sewer system, our pipe system, and it comes up through our sink or faucet. And that is the water that we drink, that we bathe in, that we brush our teeth with, that we make our coffee with, that we boil our vegetables with and cook our food with. That's the same water. So even though it might be noble on the outside that those people who are in control of the water plants are trying to stave off, all of the chemicals and the byproducts that are contained in our drinking water supply, it's not working. It never has worked. So, what's a consumer? What's an individual to do? What is a family to do? Minimally, we must try and invest in a good water filtration system for not only our sink in our kitchen, which is our drinking water, but the sink in our bathroom that we rinse our mouths out with and brush our teeth with and wash our face with, that water coming from the sink, the water faucet in your bathtub, the shower head in the bathtub. All of these need to have a water filter, minimally. It may not purify and or clean your water 100%, but a little caution towards the right direction is better than none at all. Now, as it relates to water that comes out of your sink in your kitchen, when that water comes out, as tedious as it may be, boil it afterwards. Start to store it in containers, preferably glass containers. As long as you can maintain the temperature, if you don't have glass, you can use food grade plastic containers to store water. Just make sure that you maintain it at a certain temperature where it doesn't get so hot where that plastic begins to break down and the chemicals that the plastic is made of end up leaching into your water. Understand that? So when you boil your water in stainless steel pots, not aluminum. Even in a ceramic pot, but not aluminum. Aluminum ions will leach into your water or even your food for that matter once the pot or pan is heated up. Understand that. Now, as far as the water brands in bottled water, I would stay away from that altogether. Try as much as you can to purchase your water in glass bottles. Will it be pricey? Yes. If you want to complain about the price of the water because it's in a glass bottle, then do the first thing that I just mentioned to you. Clean or purify your own water at home and store it yourself. All it costs is a little effort on your part. But is it worth it at the end of the day? As opposed to something that's just there for convenience, that's harming your health long term and that of your families. Okay, now name brand bottled waters like some of the ones that I mentioned, we don't know where those waters are coming from. They can promise us the moon. If you look at the fact, and I've said this many times before in previous videos, if the food manufacturers are putting chemicals and toxic materials in our food, in the cans, in the bag, in the frozen food, the food that's processed and packaged, if they're putting chemicals in our food and they won't stop doing it, what makes you think that water is any different? What makes you think the fact that they put on the water bottle that it is from some sort of spring, some sort of glacier, some sort of mountain, that it's going to make it any more pure. If you believe that, I'm sure they have another one for you, another lie for you. So, it is best to err on the side of safety and do it yourself as much as lie within you. So, I don't trust the Sonic, I don't trust Aquafina, Ice Mountain, Glacier, whatever the name of that other water is, or Fiji. None of them. I would trust them better if they were in glass bottles, because what you must realize about the packaged water in the plastic is that it has to travel to your supplier. It has to travel to your grocery store. And most of the time when it's traveling, when it's being shipped, I'm sorry, I had a customer. Now, I want to drive this point home. When water, like anything else, when it's shipped on a truck or a train or even a ship, oftentimes, especially when it has no air conditioning, it becomes very, very hot, especially in the summertime. And when you have a truck that's shipping bottled water far distances on its way to the grocery store, those trucks become so hot, up to 100 degrees. What happens is those plastic bottles begin to sweat. And then the material that the plastic bottles are made of, to include bisphenol A for many of them, bisphenol A or BPA, which is a synthetic estrogen hormone that's in the plastic. It leaches into the water. So you and I, when we go to the grocery store to purchase our water, the grocery store has an air conditioner on in the store, so you never know what the origin of the water's travel was. Once it travels there from the hot truck or the ship or from the train and arrives at the grocery store, all you see is a comfortable place to shop when you go into the grocery store and you take your water off the shelf. And you don't know any different. You don't know that that bottle was at an extreme high temperature before it got to you, and now it has cooled off, but the chemicals that the bottles are made of is now in your water and you can't see it with the naked eye. So you are ingesting that. Real simple, isn't it? So now, that's one of the main reasons I don't drink bottled water. If per adventure, by chance for some of you, you don't have any water available, even if it were myself, I would drink a bottle of water. Now, there are some that might say, well, you are a hypocrite, brother teacher, or you're contradicting yourself. No, I am not. And here's why. I believe in the 90-10 rule. 90% of what you do should be healthy, 10% unhealthy. You might get tired of me saying this, but you need to take care of your own health. Be your own doctor. It's okay to rely on man or mankind to assist us because we are a human family on this planet. But you owe it to yourself to know you, to know your body, and to know the world in which you live in and how it operates in every capacity, because it could cause you your life if you are not educated about the things around you and all of the things that we're all involved in every day, especially the things that we put in our bodies and the things that we put on our bodies. So when you go to the grocery store, you should be educated on ingredients. What are you consuming? When you go to a restaurant, you should know what's in your food. I know it's not common. It's not something that we have been taught to do ordinarily. It is something that we assumed, and this is the sin, if you will. This is the downside. All of us that have come into this world have assumed that everything is okay just because we saw somebody else doing it, or someone else has been doing it for decades or even 100 years. We assume that it's okay. But we have found out in latter years, in many, many decades or hundreds of years later, that just because someone did something traditionally didn't make it right. Because most of the things that we have done have caused illness, has caused disease, and has caused cancer, because we were not educated. And self-education is probably the greatest education you will ever have, instead of just assuming that just because this man or this woman said it makes it right, when it doesn't make it right. What makes it right is you, who are affected by it, takes the time out of your life and investigate and research to find out what works and what doesn't work, what's right and what's wrong. And that's what's wrong with our society, is that we have been believing in so much for so long, falling for the okie doke, and then we find out that we have actually been bamboozled. Okay? That might have sounded a little hokey, but it's the truth anyway. This is Brother Teacher. Now I hope that I have given you some insight about the water. Don't necessarily believe in the water type or the water brand per se. You can do an alkaline or a pH test on the water that you think you want to drink, be it Aquafina or Evian or Fiji or what have you. You will be surprised at the results when you do the pH test, because they're not what they appear to be. Stop just taking people's words for face value as being the truth. Don't even believe me necessarily. Make sure that you do your own due diligence and find out the truth for yourself. That way you are convicted. You are convicted and convinced. I'm out. So long.